Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be, again, another more less beauty related, not beauty related at all, I should say, and not necessarily more randomness, but more of a informational video, I guess. So in 2020, my husband and I, we purchased a house in the middle of the situation in 2020. We bought a house in July of 2020. It's our first home, and I wanted to share some lessons, general lessons we learned from purchasing in a more difficult time, and something that a lot of people are looking to do right now because of the interest rates being so low, especially in Canada right now. It's creating a little bit of a housing boom with first-time home buyers wanting to get in. So I'm gonna start off. I have a list here of stuff that I want to talk about and some pieces of advice I'd like to talk about. And so without further ado, my cat is on his way. Let's get right into it. So the first piece of advice that I have is to know your non-negotiables before you even start looking for a house. Non-negotiables could be anything from location, budget. My husband and I, we set a really strict budget for ourselves. We kind of went through the math and calculated out everything payment-wise, what we would be looking at for a payment on the house, how we would be looking at heating, power, taxes, water, everything, maintenance, everything you can think of that if something should go wrong, you're not sunk and you're not walking into a house that is too expensive to maintain. For us, we needed to we bought a house with oil heat, which means we have to look at the cost of oil, how much average we'd be looking at over the course of the year, which we're still calculating right now. We're working with our oil company to kind of figure out, there's this, how much it would be, and asking questions. And I feel like you need to ask a lot of questions, be it of your mortgage broker, your realtor, your power company, oil company, anybody who you'd be talking to. Ask as many questions as you like. More often than not, they're more than happy to give you advice and provide you information if they're able to. Which goes into my next point about setting a budget before you start looking. You don't want to walk into a house and be above your budget and walk into it and be like, we love it, it's absolutely beautiful, it's our perfect home, we want it, and then turn around and look at your budget and say we can't afford it. There is nothing more heartbreaking than losing out on a perfect home that you cannot afford. It's not something that you want to put yourself in. We were lucky enough that we didn't put ourselves in that situation. We got a really good deal on our house. We really got more than what we had asked for with our budget, and since then I've continued looking on some real estate websites, and nothing has come up that's as good as what we got when it comes to this type of house. My third point is as they say, location, location, location. Tyler and I got into quite a few fights over this. My one big non-negotiable is that I wanted to live in Center City. I wanted the proximity to work. I work in downtown. And I wanted the experience of living downtown. Our last rental before we bought this house was a house that was downtown, and I loved it. The energy was great for me. It became a non-negotiable for me that I wanted to live in this area. I didn't, that was the one big non-negotiable. Tyler, on the other hand, was more about what the space inside the house was like. And we got into quite a few arguments over this and debates on it. And with a house, location should, in my opinion, location should trump what's inside the house, because you can change what's inside the house. You cannot change the location of the house itself. When you buy, if you have a specific location you would like to be in, you should budget for that location, and you should look in that location. And that should be the only place you look. It took us, and my cat's tail, it took us about a month of looking at houses before we were able to find this one. But they were all within a certain area of the city that we live in. With us, we took our time with it. We made sure that, the house that we got is the house we both liked, and it was in the location we both liked, and so that's how this house came to be. The next point is to get a good realtor and a good mortgage broker. We went with a mortgage broker And he was incredibly helpful. He explained to us what a mortgage broker does. We didn't pay him. He makes a commission off of the lender we ended up going with. And he got us a really good rate. He informed us when he knew of stuff that was happening. If the rates were going down, he's like, I'm going to wait. Okay, you just don't sign that yet. Something else is coming down the line. The rate's going down. I'll send you paperwork again to sign. And he was great. He was very helpful. He answered all of our questions that we had, and he was able to provide us with information that we wouldn't have had otherwise. Some people swear by going to a bank, and sometimes a bank is great, but we found with a mortgage broker, they have access to the banks as well as to like more non-traditional lenders, like online lenders, stuff like that. So we really liked our mortgage broker. He did really good by us. We got a really good deal, a really good rate, and he was really incredibly helpful. And when we purchased our home on a purchase plus improvements mortgage, which is a mortgage that you can get if you're looking to renovate a part of your house in order to roll that renovation into your mortgage payments. So what we did was the bank loaned us, like rolled our renovation into our mortgage. We paid for the renovation up front, and then we went back to the lawyer's office after the fact, and they gave us the check for the money from the renovation. We ended up renovating our kitchen. So that money is in our mortgage, and we're paying that off with the mortgage itself. It did increase our value of our house. That's why you have to make sure that any renovation you're going to do is going to increase the value of your house by at least that much money. And so we bought on a purchase plus improvements. We redid our kitchen at the end of last year, and we got that money back to pay off the upfront costs we had to pay. And you want a good realtor. Our realtor was someone I used to work with, and he was awesome. He talked to us. He took us to a house, like we picked out the first house, and he took us in and kind of gauged us on every house we went to. I think we saw about 8 houses, 7 or 8 houses before we bought this one. But every house we went to, we told him what we were looking for, and he was kind of like, okay, and he took that. And then he only sent us what we wanted. So he would have information prior to the house being listed publicly on the market, so we would be able to get in early if we wanted it. And we were able to schedule out with him about what we wanted to see. He was very personable. He worked with us on what we wanted and spoke to us and gauged what we liked and what we didn't like, and kind of shifted what listings he sent us based on that. So he was great. Our mortgage broker was great. The bank we never really had any direct contact with. It was all through our mortgage broker, but the two of them worked together great. We were really, really happy with them, and we were very lucky to be able to get such a team working with us, especially as first-time home buyers in the middle of this situation. The next one is to be careful who you ask for an opinion. We made the mistake of asking too many people because no one was able to come look at the houses with us. Our parents weren't. My parents live across the country. Tyler's parents were not in the same city. We were still in isolation. We couldn't really get together and have people come in and see. Everyone was still very nervous when we bought this house about this situation. So what we had done is we sent pictures to everybody. We sent pictures to my parents. We sent pictures to his parents. We felt like it was just a lot of opinions floating around on stuff that they were judging based on pictures. And I felt like my dad came in, my mom was all like, yeah, let's go do it. And my dad came in and he looked at the pictures and he wrote down questions, because my dad is a very analytical thinker. And I felt like with him, he was able to look at the pictures that we sent him, both on the listing and on this one. When we walked it, we came for, I think, 3 separate times. We came in 3 separate times to look at the house itself and sent photos. And my dad really kind of took the analytics of, well, he's a very analytical person. So he kind of looked down and said, okay, what is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? And he wanted to make sure that we had all of the answers that he was asking to the questions he was asking before we took the plunge into this house. This house is old. We bought an 80-year-old house. Like, our house was built in 1940, and a lot of the houses in the area we were looking are quite old. We were not interested in a new house, stuff like that. So this house is quite old. It's full of character. I love the character in this house. It's absolutely beautiful. But it needed some work, and my dad actually asked those questions. So we kind of agreed after that to kind of say, you know what, maybe it's best if we only ask my dad, because there's no emotion involved. There's, you know, he will look at it from a scientific point of view, an analytical point of view. There's no emotion on his end. He's not super excited for us, stuff like that. He is super excited. He was super excited for us, but he looked at the house from the perspective of an outsider who had no connection to us or to the house whatsoever, and then asked us the questions and made sure we had the answers before we jumped in. The next point is going back to, especially a first-time home buyer, when you buy a house, you want to see the potential in the house, not necessarily the reality. When we came into this house, the kitchen was atrocious, and I'm gonna put up a picture right here of what our kitchen looked like before we renovated it. It was a one-wall kitchen, it had no dishwasher, and it was just horrific. It was a horrible kitchen. We both hated it. It was really dark and gross and ugh. So we knew that when we walked in, but the kitchen itself has a lot of space. It's got good space. It's very, you know, it's long. It's not super wide. It's wide enough for a galley kitchen, but they had a one-wall kitchen and the fridge was just floating on the other wall. It was a little bit like, what's happening here? But for me, I looked at that and I said, you know what we could do? We could tear that out, put in new floors, new cabinets, everything. Have the cabinets go straight up to the ceiling. We could increase a bunch of storage space, and the laundry room's off the kitchen, so it had a whole bunch of storage space for like our food, and we used that space as our pantry for the first 6 months we lived here till we got the kitchen reno done. And again, going back, we went with a purchase plus improvements mortgage. I don't have all the information on a purchase plus improvements mortgage, but we were able to roll the cost of the kitchen reno into our mortgage itself. And it increased our mortgage, and it increased the down payment, and increased the fee. However, we weren't kind of on the hook at that point. When it got approved, we weren't on the hook to be like, yeah, okay, we got to pay out of pocket to do this kitchen. It was not a cheap reno. I mean, your kitchen and your bathroom are probably the most expensive renovations you can do, but they also increase the value of your house. And I truly believe that the kitchen reno that we did, it did increase the value of our house quite a bit. But yeah, so we had to walk in. We're doing the floors up here. Our flooring right now is like a cheap like rental, like it's like cheap laminate. So what we, and like navy blue carpet, like it's like great. So what we're doing up here now is we're replacing the floors on our second floor, but we're removing the laminate ourselves, and we're again seeing the potential. Our basement has like 70s carpet. I think the guy who came in to give us a quote on our carpet was like, you're looking at like 35 years old at least on our carpet in the basement. So we're tearing that up too. We're putting carpet down the stairs along with the same carpet that's going to be up here, but we're reusing the laminate floors. We're taking the laminate floors from up here, and we're actually going to lay them ourselves throughout the semi-finished part of our basement. We have 2 rooms that are finished, and then the rest is unfinished, and there's subfloor and everything already put there. So we said, you know, for the cost of $200 for the underlay, we can take the laminate up here and just lay it in the basement, and then the flooring is done in the basement. So we're not wasting our flooring, because it is good flooring, it's just not to our taste. So we're replacing it with all carpet up here, and except for the bathroom obviously, and then down the stairs, and then the basement stairs as well, and then using the laminate in the basement. So there is a lot of potential here. We've switched out light fixtures. It's probably the cheapest way to update your house. We've switched them out. We switched out our appliances. We did change paint colors. Obviously this wasn't a green wall when we moved in. It was all like builder's beige when we moved in. So we've switched out all the paint in the house pretty much. It's the potential there. Like you don't look at it as from the perspective of like, this house isn't for us because it's not perfect. It's not the perfect way we want it. You got to see the potential there, and you got to see how much it would cost to really bring out that full potential to make it to your taste. So yeah, so see the potential in the house, not necessarily the reality. The next one is to prepare for delays. And this is not for everybody. I was talking to one of my coworkers, and they bought a house, and they said that they managed to close the day it was supposed to. They moved in exactly on time, stuff like that. We did not have that experience. There was quite a bit of work that had to be done that was brought up in the inspection, which is another thing. Make sure you get an inspection on a house before you move in, because you could end up in some serious issues, and an inspection will bring up some issues that could come out that you may not know about. So it's quite a bit of money. You're looking between $500 to $900 for someone to come in. You need to find a good company who's going to look at everything right up close. So now they don't do like in depth, so they're not going to catch stuff that's in depth issues. However, they'll tell you what's wrong. And there was a few big issues we had that had to be fixed before we would agree. The sellers were very accommodating to our requests. I mean, there were some that they didn't do because there was other issues that were more pressing that we said, you know, as long as they do this, we're happy. So it's a bit of negotiation there, and you know, there was some stuff that had to be done before we moved in. So we got that stuff done, and we closed, I think it was like, what was it? It was like 2 weeks late. It was like 2 weeks between the time that we were supposed to move in and the time we actually closed was 2 weeks. It was the longest 2 weeks of my life. I can't tell you how stressful it was. There were days where I was like, stuff was happening, and I was like, this can't be, maybe this isn't the house for us. You know, I have anxiety. Tyler does too. And you know, we would talk, and it would be like 1 step forward, 2 steps back type of a deal when we bought this house. But a lot of it was from the fact that we were in the middle of a situation. I can't say it because of YouTube algorithms. We were in the middle of a situation. You know, there was a lot going on, a lot of stuff going on with everybody involved in this, and, you know, a lot of waiting around. We were incredibly lucky that our landlords are friends of ours, and they were really understanding. They were able to give us that extra time. We didn't have to pay for an extra month of rent. We just paid for the days we were there. We calculated out how much it would be, and, you know, we bought some of the furniture from them, you know, and, you know, it worked out really well. Like, there was we had a really good team behind us. Our landlords were very understanding of what was going on. In the end, it was a very good experience. We moved in ourselves. Tyler's parents and sister came out to help. Never doing that again. This was a big move for us. It was like 2 full days of moving. Like, it was awful. I think next time we move, we're gonna hire movers because it was crazy. But yeah, so that was our home buying experience in Canada in a situation. And some, you know, lessons we learned that you could really apply if you're buying a house at any point. Like, when this is over, if you're planning to buy, that's, you know, taking those pieces of advice. My cat is looking at me. He's just like, hey. But yeah, there's some pieces of advice. I don't recommend taking everything by face value. I would recommend doing your own research on it. It's not something that you should go into eyes closed. There's a lot of research involved, and I found it very difficult to find some information. So I feel like it would be pretty helpful to, you know, provide some of that information. But again, do your own research, ask questions of the professionals you're working with, and yeah, happy house hunting. If you like this video, give me a big thumbs up down below. And if you want to see more content from me, be it this like random informational, random ridiculousness, or beauty related content, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when I post new content, don't forget to hit the little bell next to it. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.